Mr. Hoyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me follow up on what was just discussed. Mr. McCarthy and I and the gentleman from Texas, whose name reminds me right now, Congressman Hurd, who headed up the subcommittee at that point in time, joined together and passed a bill on Technology Modernization Fund. It was why the private sector can do it faster and better, because they put aside a capital fund for that, and it's there, which is what the commissioner is saying. It's there, and it will not be taken away. And it will be steady. First of all, it'll be a fund, and then it will be repaid by the agencies over time, but the fund will be there for them to draw on when they can do the modernization. Unfortunately, the administration, when it came into office, asked for $9 billion to put in that fund, to fund it so it would be available to agencies as they needed it. That was a lot of money. It was not funded anywhere close to the $9 billion, and has been funded now at less than $1 billion from year to year, sometimes as low as $100 million, which, of course, is a lot of money. But it's not a lot of money when you're talking about the sums necessary to do the kinds of volume work that we're doing. And I appreciate, Mr. Commissioner, your answer to that, because I think that's the right answer. And I'd be glad to join my friend and this committee in looking at that Technological Modernization Fund, because the IRS has had that same problem, right, not having the money. And I, of course, echo how inefficient and how costly to the American taxpayer is the CRs. The fact that we don't do our work on time, passing discreetly 12 appropriation bills so that our agencies know what funds they have prior to the beginning of a fiscal year, costs us literally billions of dollars and extraordinarily inefficient. Mr. Commissioner, I don't know that I have a question for you, but I do congratulate you on the efforts that you have brought. You did that in Baltimore as well, yes, on the statistical analysis of what was being done, how efficiently and effectively it was done, and how timely it was being done.
Performance management.
Yeah, and that had made a huge difference in the city when you were.
Thank you.
And also at the state level.
Yes, sir.
You did the same thing.
We were younger then.
Well, I'm still young. You're getting older. I'm trying to avoid that with not much success. But in any event, I want to thank you for bringing that managerial formula to that so you can answer questions, because the taxpayer deserves the questions. We are the agent of the taxpayer to get answers to that question. And are we getting more effective? Are we getting more efficiency? And very frankly, we have the same problem. I had the subcommittee, or the ranking member, at one point was the head of the committee, that deals with IRS. And the same thing that you have talked about in terms of increasing population, increasing number of returns, increasing dollar values, and very steeply decreasing employees, which is why, for instance, overseeing millionaires' tax returns, which was at one time 9%, is now at 0.6%. 0.6% of those who file tax returns over $1 million are being audited. A substantially higher percentage of those who have returns under that. Why? Because they're simple. And it's not employee intensive. And so that's not being done. And the same applies to, obviously, the very substantial increase as America ages, right, that your agency is required to deal with.
And that's why I've been so inspired, Mr. Chairman and Congressman, by the way the senior executive service and employees of Social Security have responded to performance management, the openness and transparency. I knew from afar, even before I was confirmed, that they had to collect a lot of data, our earnings ever since our first summer job. And so when in the confirmation hearing, Senator Cassidy actually asked me, he said, how quickly can you turn around historic data and real-time data on service delivery? I said, 60 days. He said, 60 days, we'll hold you to it. And we did. Now, it took OMB another 90 days to review it and say it was okay, but I got it to him in 60 days, and it's up on our website now. There is a new way of governing emerging in America, and it's all about openness. It's about transparency. It's about getting things done and delivering the goods of the republic that make a republic worth having.
In closing, and I've run out of my time, but Mr. Chairman, one of the things I think that we ought to do is look at the private sector because the pandemic changed the way many in the private sector did business. And they found that it was more efficient to be off-site than on-site. And in fact, if we made that comparison, I think it would be instructive to us as you deal with the concerns that we all have about how effectively off-site work is for the American people, or are people off-site and not doing the work that we expect them to do.
Right, the productivity numbers seem to be are the best thing to look at.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.